So who does the law say has responsibility for managing risk of hazard in the workplace? The WHS Act of 2011 uses the term a person conducting the business or undertaking. At wind farms, this can be considered to be the business owner, executives and senior management. I'll refer to them as the owners. The Act deals with what it calls reasonable behaviours and requests. These are those behaviours and requests that are logical, sensible and realistic in any given situation. It outlines the responsibilities that people have while they and others are at work. The section discussing primary duty of care states that owners have what's called a reasonable level of responsibility to safeguard the health and safety of people working for them or those who are influenced or directed by them. Owners must also ensure workers' health and safety aren't put at risk from the work that they do. However, it's not only owners and senior management who have to play a role. Officers and workers also have responsibility for their own health and safety, both in what they do and what they don't do, and what they may fail to do. And they're also responsible for any repercussions from this on theirs or other people's health and safety. It goes without saying that in order for owners and senior management to be able to actually comply with the Act, that workers and other people in the workplace must obey reasonable instructions that they're given and adhere to the policies and procedures on health and safety. Read the Work Health and Safety Act of 2011 and review Part 2, Division 2, Section 19, 1 and 2, and Part 2, Division 4, Section 28 and 29. So, what processes should you expect to find in your workplace? There are mandatory requirements for implementing and monitoring organisational WHS procedures, policies and programs. This means that everyone must understand organisational WHS obligations, safety information must be provided to all staff, participative arrangements, safety procedures and safety training must be implemented and monitored in the workplace, and that safety records must be maintained. What are the basic steps you need to follow? There are some basic WHS processes and procedures designed to reduce risk when at work. It might be worthwhile asking the following questions. What's going on? Why is it happening? What else don't I know? What do I do now and how? So what does this mean for me? It is also good practice to follow a step-by-step approach to risk management. You'll recall that the Victorian Regulation 515 states swims must identify the task that is considered to be high risk or dangerous work, state the risks that could affect the worker's health or safety, develop procedures to help control the risks, and describe how the measures have been implemented on the job. So start by inspecting the workplace. Identify the hazards. Hazards can arise from the following aspects of work: physical work, environment, equipment, materials and substances used, work design and management, work tasks and how they're performed. Assess the risks. Consider what could happen if someone is exposed to a hazard and the likelihood of it happening, how severe the risk is, are existing control measures effective, what action could be taken to control the risk, and the urgency of the actions that are required. Control the risks. Eliminate the risk so far as reasonably practicable, or if not possible, minimise the risk with the use of hierarchy of control measures. Review the control measures. Control measures should be reviewed to make sure they work as planned or have not introduced new risks. If control measures are not adequate, they need to be revised. Report incidents and accidents. It's important to use the applicable regulation and codes of practice, follow organisational policies and procedures, consult with other workers, and adhere to the principle of sustainability in the environment. So when working on a wind farm, this means that you must consider the following WHS processes and procedures before undertaking relevant tasks or activities. You must consult a JSA or SWIM that is compliant with the WHS Act 2011, WHS Regulations 2011, and Safe Work Australia Codes of Practice. Why? This is because the steps in the JSA will outline what you must do before starting a task in order to remove an unforeseen hazard that may be encountered down the track. The JSA should also outline any specific requirements that are needed for you to complete the task safely, and may refer to equipment training and instruction and discrete steps within the task. Identify hazards. For example, when loading and unloading equipment from a hoist, first you must identify the hazards such as the physical work involved in loading and unloading equipment onto and off the hoist, and take into account how to perform this activity within the smaller confines of the turbine. Next, you must assess the risks. For example, you might assess the weight and or dimensions of the equipment, know the weight restrictions of the hoist, and have consulted the JSA, SWIMS and or your colleagues about the procedure. Then you must control the risks. For example, you would ensure you use the correct body position, have the recommended number of technicians to assist you during the task. Other measures to control the risks that are essential at wind farms include turning the turbine off before beginning to work on it, using PPE, including wearing a hard hat when near the turbine, as required by the regulations.